Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for asking my boyfriend to celebrate my birthday? Dating a widower from past 7 years and his ex-wife died exactly a day before my birthday. I'm very considerate of the fact that he gets sad around this time, so we visit her grave together with his son and meet his ex-in-laws for kind of a yearly commemorating lunch. We also celebrate his late wife's birthday and of each and every family member from both sides of the family, but we never really celebrated my birthday, not even a dinner. He will usually wish me over text or call and that's it. Not that I want fancy gifts, but it's nice to celebrate this day with the person you love. So, this year I really wanted to celebrate my birthday with all my colleagues from work, our friends and his relatives, because I got promoted recently and wanted to throw a get together. I asked my boyfriend's sister about this, and she was thrilled, so we proceeded to tell the other family members as well. My boyfriend was very unhappy and said the time around my birthday is a very sad period for all of them, and I was insisting on partying. His mom said I was being selfish and not understanding what my boyfriend is going through. I dropped the idea and told him that I promised to never celebrate my birthday with him ever, even if we get married. He said I was being immature and I'm hurting him. So I'm actually torn. On one side I feel like I'm being immature, but on the other hand I feel that I deserve my own celebration as well. PS, in case anyone asks, I met my boyfriend 7 years after his wife passed away. Also, it feels illegal to go out and celebrate without him, so every year I usually order a cake for myself and watch movies in my apartment all alone. Am I the antagonist? Edit. Thank you everyone for your kind suggestions. I've decided to not cancel my birthday plans. I would call his sister, since she was excited to celebrate the day. I'd also call my boyfriend and invite him over. I've realized that it's been so long and there should be some positive outcome of this relationship. PS2, another thing which I didn't add was our cultural difference. He's American and I'm Asian. Edit 2, a lot of things happened in the last 3 hours. I was going through all your supportive comments and somewhere it just enraged me so much. You guys are correct. I'm the doormat. I have no self-respect, so I'm being an otter myself. I texted him around 8:30 saying I think we need to break up, since I was suffocating in this relationship. He didn't reply and came straight to my apartment an hour later while crying non-stop. He said what will happen to him if I leave him. IDK what to get from this. Does he really love me? I'm starting to ponder over that now. Or is he scared to be alone again? I said I need some time to decide. I don't think I will be going back again this time. He may mourn her while yet enjoying you. The two things are not incompatible. With your friends, family, and coworkers, organize a celebration. Comment by team member Charlie. Now for the top comments. He has 3 choices. 1. Celebrate your birthday with you 2. Let you celebrate your birthday the way you want without him. 3. Pick a different date close to, but far enough away to celebrate. How long does this difficult time last for him? A week? A month? 2 weeks? I don't think this is the appropriate solution, but it might be one. Your birthday doesn't not somehow devalue his wife's death. It is part of life. If after 7 years he is so devastated that he can't manage a nice dinner and cake, then he needs to be in serious therapy. And to turn it around, to make it your issue is pretty low, and indicates that he isn't ready to be moving on, but insists on being stuck in the past. So he doesn't want you to celebrate your birthday ever. And when you say that you're hurting him, it's a sensitive time, but he chose to start a new relationship. While that doesn't mean he can't be sad around this time, it also doesn't mean that you and your needs as his current partner stop mattering. To celebrate your late wife's birthday 11 years after her passing and involve your current partner but refuse to celebrate said partner's birthdays in the nicest way I can put it. Odentier edit. In response to your second edit, he has gone even further down in my estimations. He came over and cried about what will happen to him if you all break up. His concern is himself. Seems like you're just around for his own comfort. He doesn't respect you as a partner or equal at all. NTA, and also you're being treated like a third-class citizen in your own relationship. Everything that's wrong with your relationship is your entire post. Everything you said is a huge red flag. They go out of their way to celebrate a life and death, but completely ignore you. IDK how the rest of your relationship is, but I feel like you're more of a replacement body and an actual individual person in your relationship. 100%. It does feel as though Op is a replacement for BF's deceased wife, and Op's birthday is a reminder that she isn't his wife. Am I the antagonist for demanding my husband to pay me for the act that he sold behind my back? We, him 31 and I 32, live in a small apartment with our 2-year-old daughter. We are struggling financially and he hasn't been working since he broke his leg, which was 8 months ago. I'm the one bringing money in while saving for an act because it's so hot where we live and fans weren't enough. I bought an act 2 months ago, put it in the living room, and it made huge difference because the apartment was literally hot. My husband kept huffing about buying the axe, saying I wasted money and should just kept using fans. He told me since I had no issue paying that much money for an unnecessary luxury, then I had to pay him to go on a trip with his friends. I declined because I didn't have the money he was asking for then, after he said he'd pay me back later if I wanted. Also said his friends wouldn't let him go if he didn't pay. I suggested he skip it since it's out of the country type of trip and very costly, not to mention the stuff he'd need from food and sleeping equipment since they plan to go out on the wilderness. He threw a fit and said he'd skipped 3 trips so far and his injury no longer stood in his way, so he wanted to go. I suggested he go borrow money from someone and he got offended. Days ago I discovered the act was gone when I got back from work and freaked out. Turns out he sold it online and waited till I was away to remove it and take it. I tried giving me 100 to guilt me down, but I was seething. I yelled at him and he said he needed money, had nothing valuable left to sell, and thought the act was not a necessity. Still he offered to save and buy a new one once he starts working. I demanded him to pay me back immediately or I won't be staying in this place with these conditions. Even my daughter hates how hot it is in here. He started arguing about how unreasonable my stance is, and I told him off. He got some of his friends contacting me convincing me to let him go on the trip, then we'll figure something out later, and that his mental health was more important. But I responded that if they cared so much about it then they shouldn't have expected him to pay to go with them. They stopped speaking to me. Now he's accusing me of ruining the trip and alienating his friends. If he is able to travel abroad for a vacation, he can find work, get a new air conditioner, and fund his own trip. His pals are scumbags. I support those who are discussing divorce, but what he did was really cunning and self-serving. Comment by team member Parker. Now for the top comments. NTA. He threw a fit and said he'd skipped 3 trips so far and his injury no longer stood in his way, then he should get a fucking job. Account isn't a luxury item FFS. For some people living in certain areas, it could make the difference between life and death. Your husband thinks only of himself and what he wants. He has no business having the titles of husband and father. What a disgrace. Exactly. 8 months for a broken leg. If he is well enough to go camping, he is for damn sure well enough to get a job. NTA, but let's be honest here. You're taking care of 2 kids. If you can't afford to take care of both, it may be best to drop one. I would recommend dropping the one that's trying to gaslight you and make you feel like shit for buying an act. NTA, the act was an investment in the comfort and well-being of the entire household. Not a waste at all. And what he did was theft. Plain and simple. I would have to think about throwing the whole man away if I were in your shoes, over the staggering selfishness and attempts to make you feel guilty about not financing an international camping trip when you're the only one working. If he's recovered enough for a wilderness trip, he's recovered enough to seek employment. Am I the antagonist for refusing to go on family vacation unless my mom lets my boyfriend come? I, 22F, am one of 7 children. I'm the youngest, and all of my siblings are over 10 years older than me. They all are married, but only one of them has children. My dad left when I was 7, and none of us have heard from him since. We didn't go on any family vacations after he left because my mom was too anxious. And then by the time she wasn't, my siblings all had their own lives. My mom decided last year that she wanted to go on a huge family vacation. It's out the country and for 15 days. All of my siblings are going to be there, along with their partners. The vacation is next week. I've been with my boyfriend now for about 6 months. And I thought it was a given that my mom would pay for my boyfriend to come too. When I mentioned it to her, she laughed thinking I was joking. She said it's a family vacation where all of us are going to be spending actual time together for the first time in a long time, and she doesn't want to pay for someone she barely knows to be there. I said this was unfair and told her I refused to go unless she would let him come. She's upset and my siblings are all saying I'm an ass. But I just don't think it's fair when all of my siblings' partners are going. Am I the antagonist? Edit 1. My mom said no to my boyfriend coming. Even if I paid too. My mom is bringing a friend with her. I asked her last year if I could bring my best friend, who I've known since I was 4, and she said no. The entire family is taking a lengthy 2-week vacation. They haven't taken a trip like this in at least 15 years. Mom is covering everyone's expenses. Sometimes in life, you have to weigh what you desire against what it will cost. Comment by team member Alex. Now for the top comments. Sorry, but you're the a-hole. It's crazy for you to expect someone to pay for your boyfriend of less than a year to go on an expensive overseas vacation. I'm also not crazy about how you blame your mom's anxiety for no family vacations, when the truth may be that she was a struggling single mom and couldn't afford it. Take a look at your entitlement. I read the posters out in the country and thought they were just going somewhere remote. Haha. Going out of the country with your BF of 6 months and expecting your mother to pay is unreasonable. Why is it your mother's responsibility to pay for his way? You're demanding son-in-law privileges for someone who's barely more than a stranger to her. AITA. I don't know about everyone's families, but I can say that my parents would not pay for me or my wife to go on vacation. They would say, hey, we are looking at going on vacation here. Is anyone interested in joining? Let us know so we can start talking budgets and time frames. The entitlement is real with op. Am I the antagonist for allowing my husband to show off a photo? My husband is a bit of a Marilyn Monroe fan. I'm also into her story, but not like he is. We joke that she would definitely be at the top of his free pass list if she were alive and our age, etc. Close bracket. All good fun. So, for his birthday I had a photographer friend help me recreate the famous nude Marilyn pose on red sheets with her arms behind her head. I won't post her photo here, but if you Google Marilyn Monroe nude there should be a million hits. Wholesome and cute, I thought. I had it done. Blonde wig and professional setting and everything. And it turned out great. He loved it. Anyway, he showed it to a few close buddies. I was fine with this, and they thought it was awesome and fun. One of their wives, however, did not. She did not think it was cool that my husband showed this photo, and actually called my character into question for having the photo done. I called her out on it. We saw each other at a bar. I asked if there was a misunderstanding. She said there wasn't. She really stood her ground. I clapped back a bit and finally cut off the conversation after she said, I get it, Laura. You love your boobs. Just shocked me. Am I the antagonist for not stopping my husband from showing his friends this photo? Am I clueless here? Why does your husband believe it is acceptable to simply brag about that to his friends? I would argue that this picture isn't innocent and adorable. Once he showed his pals the picture, they were free to respond, either favorably or unfavorably. Comment by team member Alex. Now for the top comments. I'll have to say I'm half and half on this one. The photo idea is very cute, I love it, and I think it's pretty thoughtful, and it's very sweet how you put so much effort to it. But I also can't help but to question how your husband would show nude pictures of his wife to his married friends. It's a bit unusual to me, I'll have to admit, though I don't think she should be angry at you, but at her own husband for looking, even though it's a nude photo of his friend's wife. In conclusion, I think that lady should be pissed at her husband, not you. And in my personal opinion, such gifts are very sweet and even sweeter when they stay between you and your hubby. Maybe one could brag about it by talking about it, but I wouldn't be with the whole showing it situation. As a married man, the last thing I would want to see is my friends' wives naked, because it doesn't matter how much I would try to not to, that image would float past my mind every time I see them. Now, it's great that you did the photo shoot and that you and your husband are comfortable enough with nudity, etc. to show it around. But I don't think the friend's wife is an asshole either. People have different ideas of what's appropriate and what's not, and this rubbed her the wrong way. Is that your problem? No. Just ignore and live your best life. But she's also exercising her opinion the same way. I think this is a situation of people coming from very different perspectives and clashing. But I don't think anyone is an R. Am I the antagonist for calling the police on my wife's family? Me, 26 male, and my wife Sasha, 27F, have a 3-year-old together and have been together for 5 years. Me and her family do not speak at all. So a little backstory on that. I'm white, and Sasha is black. My family has always accepted Sasha without any issue. Sasha's parents were not accepting. Whenever I first met them, they were ice cold. I came over for a few holidays at the start of our relationship, and her entire family just fucked with me. Sasha defended me every single time, saying that her family isn't the best sometimes, and I was the first white person anyone brought into the family, and that her uncles like to fuck with everyone, and not just me. Well, their behavior got increasingly worse. I was left out of things on purpose. They would invite Sasha to events and told her not to bring me. Her mom told her multiple times that she should break up with me as I wouldn't be accepted into the family. Finally, I put my foot down and told Sasha it was her family or me, because I was done being treated like I was. Sasha picked me, and we've been really happy since. Her parents blew up at her for cutting them off. When we got married, they didn't show up to the wedding. I personally invited them but they didn't even respond. I haven't seen or spoken to them in years. After the birth of our son, Sasha wanted to try to reconnect with her parents. I didn't stop her, but I did tell her that her parents weren't allowed around our son. She has respected that. She will see her parents occasionally, but I never go with. The last year or so though, her parents have been reaching out to me individually. I've refused every single time and typically just ignore their inquiries. In my opinion, they only want to form a relationship due to the fact they don't have access to their grandson. They don't have any other grandchildren at this point. I come home with my son yesterday, and guess who's sitting on my couch? I took my son to his room without letting them see him. I asked how they got inside the house. They said they knew the garage code through Sasha. I knew Sasha gave her parents the garage code for emergencies. I demanded they leave. They said they wanted to speak, and since I didn't answer their calls, they had to show up in person. I left the living room and called Sasha. I tried 3 times, but she didn't respond. I went back to the living room and asked them again to leave. Sasha's mom was crying and refusing to leave. I called the police. The police showed up and removed them. I didn't press charges or anything, but now Sasha is pissed, saying that what I did was extreme and unneeded, that her parents are difficult people, but she would have been able to handle them. But I tried her 3 times, and it took her an hour to respond, and they weren't leaving. And I couldn't just leave my son in his room the whole time. But now Sasha and her whole family is calling me an R. My parents are on my side. The boundaries in Sasha's family are non-existent. Modify the garage code. Don't allow your wife to repeat the story to her parents. I'd also call the police. It makes no difference what hue their skin is. They can't use that as a shield and pretend that no one will report their crimes to the police. Comment by team member Charlie. Now for the top comments. NTA, they were intruders in your home. They weren't invited and refused to leave when you told them to. Being family doesn't give them a free pass to trespass when they knew full well they wouldn't be welcome. Don't forget to change the code on the garage. I'd also talk to Sasha about not giving people access to the home without both Op and her agreeing on it and knowing about it. NTA, everyone calling you tar is dead wrong. You don't call the police on black people in public minding their business. You do call the police on anyone in your home who is trespassing and refusing to leave. Also, it's very important to point out that he asked the police to remove them from the house and he did not press charges or have them arrested. If they wanted to talk to HS so much, they could have made arrangements to meet in a neutral location. Op is not the a-hole, but his in-laws are big time. Am I the antagonist for not making my house more child friendly for my girlfriend's nieces and nephews? I love horror movies and horror games and collect memorabilia and stuff like that. It is all over my house. Freddy and zombie cutouts, big framed pictures of horror icons, posters, etc. I'm pretty much child free. GF knows this. I've been with my GF little less than a year. She is very involved in her nieces and nephews' lives, babysits them often, has them stay overnight with her. My GF's family was having a birthday party for her aunt and she asked if they could have it at my house since I have a pool, and she thought it'd be a nice time for me to meet the rest of her family. I agreed. All the kids are under 10, so I moved the big stuff like cutouts and items hanging on walls into my spare room. My Chucky and Tiffany dolls included, because my cats like to roam. I don't close any doors except my office. Kids still found the dolls and other stuff and were terrified. GF says I should have put it all in the garage and locked the door. The day after, my GF and her sisters came over to tell me the kids had had nightmares. She also said that if I'm serious about her, I should redecorate my house anyway to make it more child friendly so she can have her family over without scaring them. I pretty much laughed and told her no. That's a pretty big ask this early in the relationship, and I'm child free. I don't mind kids coming over once in a while or being around them, but I don't want them to become regular guests at my house. I told them that they should teach the kids better to not go poking around in other people's houses without permission. Her sisters got upset and said I should have closed all the doors in my house if I knew scary things were in the rooms. And my GF says I'm being enough for not redecorating so she can spend time with me and the kids at the same time. So am I the up here? The youngsters ought to have received punishment for poking around the house, and that is what ought to have happened. What reason do you think they had for entering your spare room? Your girlfriend is aware of how your home seems. Next time, tell her to choose a different location or suck it up. Comment by team member Alex. Now for the top comments. NTA, you did them a favor by letting them come over, and you put the scary stuff away. Your girlfriend knew the decor and should have warned her family if needed. She is being controlling and trying to change you. See the red flag? Yeah. Maybe because I'm in the relationship with her I wasn't too sure if it was her being controlling or my being stubborn. I know if we ever got to a point of moving in together, stuff would have to be moved and whatnot in the name of compromise and accommodating her family. I just didn't think we were at that point yet. Thanks. NTA, so these kids went through areas of your home without permission and you're somehow and your GF wants you to redecorate? Man, you already know where this is going. NTA, I can't fathom a so who does not live with me asking I redecorate the place so they can spend more time there babysitting other kids. The audacity of such mental leap is simply laughable. And the fact she came with her sisters to talk to Op. I somehow don't see this lasting without a major attitude change.